Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, we're going to have another look at an Atlas book. Okay, this is Atlas Seaboard from 1975. Publishing company that actually only lasted just a few months. Brought out several titles. They were in direct competition to Marvel Comics. Had wooed away a bunch of talent from both Marvel and DC, including Stan Lee's own brother, Larry Lieber, who was the editor of the line. And of course, they only published for a few months. I've covered many of the titles that they did. Tiger Man, Scorpion, Destructor, that Kung Fu guy, I can't remember what it was, and a couple others, and I have one or two others still to go. I don't have all of them. I wish I had the Grim Ghost. I'd like to do the Grim. I had the Grim Ghost at one time, but I don't know whatever happened to it. Hard to say. But anyway, this time we're looking at The Brute. This is issue number 3 from 1975. Written by Gary Friedrich. Drawn by Alan Lee Weiss with inks by Jack Abel. Now, I'm not familiar with Alan Lee Weiss, but of course Gary Friedrich and Jack Abel. Of course, Jack Abel did. At this time, he was doing a lot of inking, but prior to that, he had been doing penciling and inking, like on Kid Colt Outlaw, and at Charlton for their on their Hot Rod titles. And this title only ran 3 issues, so this is the last one. Now, he's obviously a Hulk ripoff, but surprisingly, he's more like the Hulk from the TV series than the Hulk from the comics, because he is much more vulnerable, not nearly as powerful, and he's blue instead of green. But he is a fictitious hominid species, and he's basically a cross between the Hulk and Trog. If you are familiar with the horror movie from the 1960s, early 60s, I think it was a British movie. Could have been Hammer, but I'm not positive. Trog was, and it's basically the same origin story. He was Trog is short for troglodyte, and they called him Trog. Again, a fictitious species of pre-modern human hominid. Listen here, he's so big and huge. This one wasn't as huge, but in the movie, but he was, and it was Joan Crawford starred in it, and I think it was her last film role. I'm not positive on that, but I think it was. And it was created by Michael Fleischer and Mike Sikowski. So I guess they did the first issue, and was kind of starting to go through some changes, just as they did with that. Now, in this instance, he is a primitive form of pre-human hominid, but it's like in North America. He was found in North America. There were no pre-modern human hominids, as far as we know, ever existed in North and South America. He'd been frozen in a cave in suspended animation. Hey, that kind of sounds a little bit like Encino Man, too. And suspended animation, and he was awakened by radiation from a nearby nuclear power plant, and he woke up grumpy, killing two teen spelunkers, the one getting away. And anthropologist Dr. Ann Turner examines him and advocates for him on his behalf, trying to become his friend and mentor. But he escapes, wreaking havoc. And in this one, we'll see that he is vulnerable. He does get shot here. So, and presume why he's blue, I don't know, unless they're just saying he's blue because he was frozen for hundreds of thousands of years. But I don't know. But all of this stuff revolves around this one town where it's taking place. And I don't know if it even mentions it. I don't remember it. Okay, let's take a look at this big blue behemoth. The Brute. It says, you are doomed, Brute. No one can withstand the death gaze of Doomstalker. It said, Caveman versus Cyborg. Live or let die. And of course, shortly before this came out, the first Roger Moore James Bond movie came out, which was Live and Let Die, was very popular. So they altered. And I've seen other stuff doing this kind of things too. Titling a story, I mean, it has absolutely nothing to do with the story. Titling their story something similar to a popular movie title. Okay, and what's out here is he's out in the woods and it's raining and he is hungry. So what does the Brute do? He attacks a brown bear to eat. It doesn't sound right, but he is big and he is strong and he's halfway to being Gigantopithecus. Except he's blue and he is furry. He attacks the brown, live or let die. Attacks the brown bear. And they fight, and he breaks his neck and is victorious, so he gets to eat the bear. Then we switch scenes over here to this is Ann Turner, Dr. Ann Turner, and she is talking with the police chief Fraser, and they're both kind of sweet on each other, but they're always at each other's throats because they're on opposite ends. She's asking one to find out if there's any word about the Brute, and he says not yet, but my men have orders to shoot on sight because he is so dangerous and and we have to protect the people. He's not wrong. He's not wrong, but she's not wrong either. And then he's thinks, you know, because he's kind of sweet on her, and well, he gives and here he on the radio he gives the order to his officers to shoot on sight. You know, here is Brute, and then suddenly he's interrupted. His meal is interrupted. We find out they get a radio call. Yes, we found him. We found him, and he's blinded by their spotlights and stuff. So he changes his order. Capture him if you can. Capture him alive. If you can, only shoot him if he's an imminent threat to people's lives. So he's still blinded and he's kind of rampages. They have a net. They throw the net over him, and she had called back, and so she's going. She finds out where this is at, and she takes off. And so does the chief. So here they are. He's captured. He's in the net, but one of the cops has a bead on him. And he's thinking, "Oh, he's a threat. Just his existence is a threat to me, to my family, and everyone in town." And he kind of panics, and blam. Yep, he shoots him, and the cop says, "That was." It's the best shot he ever had. He's never been that good on the shooting range. Got him right between the eyes and the head. So there he is. The lady gets there. Oh, they're surprised. He's still alive. They thought he was dead. So they get him to the hospital. Said, okay, we'll see what we can do for him, but if he gets loose or he's a threat again, we're going to shoot. So there they are, and they get the best brain surgeon because the bullet is lodged in his brain. So it barely made it through his very thick cranium. And then it shows flashback while he's under. Even though when you're under anesthetic you don't dream, but it's just part of the story. Remembers his life and existence when previously in the primitive world where he had to fight saber-toothed tigers and stuff, but he had a mate and family, and how they were killed by other even more primitive pre-human hominids, and while he survived, they didn't. And then we completely switch scenes, and we get this guy who is a typical mad scientist ranting and raving about how he just lost his government job, his project was canceled, and so this is my project will work, it's perfect, yada yada yada. Then we're back and in the hospital. He's doing seems to be doing well. We'll see how he does. He's waking up, and she kind of brushes the cop aside, and of course they argue again. They're always arguing. And then she brings out when she had been studying him before he got away. She would sometimes play with him and he would respond with to the ball, rubber ball, and they would play with that. And he recognizes the ball, and he recognizes the word ball. Even so much that he's able to say it, ball. Well, it bounces away. He goes to get it. Breaking loose. I'm not going to comment because something someone said. Okay, and he gets up. He goes after. Well, the cop thinks he's just breaking loose and going on a rampage. He rushes out of busts out the window, and he takes a long shot. Blam! And he shoots him again. But apparently it's not a very, very severe injury. He just kind of looks at it. So, and she's ranting and raving, "Don't kill him, don't kill him." And he says, "I've got to." So he goes out. He thinks he's dead. The cop thinks he's dead, and he's surprised. He's out there and like, ball. He takes some more shots, and he takes off. And here, meanwhile, our mad scientist and whatever his project is in the back of his truck as he's driving around. Going home or whatever, and he hears on the radio about the brute who has gotten loose. Oh, this is perfect. My project will be perfect to stop the brute. So then they're looking for the brute around there, and he's pulling a Mighty Joe Young climbing up a tree, and they're driving around looking for him, but here he is up in the tree, and then he's right next to a construction or demolition site, I should say, and he sees the wrecking ball, and he thinks, ball! He jumps down to play with the ball, and he's swinging around, ball! Hard ball! And they get there, what are we going to do? And that's when the mad scientist shows up, opens the thing and with his remote control gets his project, whatever it happens to be, out and about. Then just as the cops are approaching, out comes his project, which is a cyborg of some kind. We don't know any details. And he leaps up, and they're fighting on top of the wrecking ball. But he has some superpowers and zaps brute, and he falls. The lady is concerned that he's killed, and the others hope he is killed, as he falls to the ground unconscious. And this is when our cyborg fellow says, "So, well, what say you? Will you do my bidding, or must I destroy you?" Says, "You're finished, my foe. Die gallantly. There, officers of the law, I have done your job for you, and I demand compensation. Well, what say you? Will you do my bidding, or must I also destroy you. Then next issue, which never happens, call him Doomstalker. So that's his first super villain, Doomstalker. But that's as much as we ever really see of him. So, but I enjoyed. I remember I had one or two other issues. There was only three, and not sure whether I have any. Still have any others other than this one. But I enjoyed the Brute. He's a monster. He's very Hulk-like, obviously. So that's why I have the Hulk, TV Hulk, and Bigfoot, because he's kind of a mashup between those. So I do want to thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And do leave your comments down below. Tell me what you thought of of the Atlas comics as a line, and the Brute specifically. What, if any, of the Atlas characters you liked best? Would you and what characters you would like to see more of that were never produced? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, comics are art.